Okay, we're being recorded. There you go. So watch your minds, your P's and Q's, folks. Welcome, everybody. I don't know, Denise, are you going to take an actual roll call, or are you just marking names down first based on what you see on the screen?
You can go ahead and go through the attendance as you normally would. If you use the updated agenda, that should have the names there.
Yep.
And maybe we should have the department staff introduce themselves today, since we do have a new member.
Okay, great. Well, I'll run through the board members first. We'll do our newest member last, so she can introduce herself and give us a little bit of background. So, Ed Clark, see it here. Deminder Basinu, Sandra Erickson,
Here.
Gregory Weston. See, Greg's camera's not on, but he's here with us.
Yep.
Garfinkel.
Here.
Dale Burnett. I see Dale here. Ann Ramirez.
Here.
Tricia Alcona Francis. And Dave Dworkin. And then we have joining us today for the first time, and I'm going to mispronounce your name, so I'm going to apologize in advance, and you can correct me afterwards. Sandaya Espita, close.
You're muted. You're muted.
We can hear you.
No, I think the new member is muted.
Yeah. Oh, she's muted? Yeah. Can't hear her. I just heard her. She said I'm muted.
No, I think it was one of the other members saying you are muted.
Oh, okay. I thought she said that.
Still muted.
So Duncan, I think she's muted. If she can hear us, if you can let her know.
I can hear everybody, but I can't. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, there you
Yes,
are.
now.
No.
Great, thank you.
Was I close with your name or no?
It is Sandia, so you were very close. I'm having trouble with my camera here, so hopefully I will be able to fix that throughout the meeting. But good afternoon and thank you, everyone. It's great to meet you. My name is Sandia Espitia. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Repni here in New York City. I have served the real estate industry for over a decade, always on the trade association side of the business. Prior to joining Repni, I worked as Global VP at ICSC here in New York City, which is the trade association for retail real estate. And during that time, I served about 60,000 members, developers, investors, and brokers in 5 different continents. So I joined ICSC about 10 years ago, and then I joined Repni about 5 years ago. And today I oversee 15,000 members and all the programs and services that we have in place for them here in New York City. Today we're 100% focused on the launch of CitySnap, which will be the first consumer site developed by the industry and for the industry. And we're all about democratizing data, consumer transparency, and of course, compliance with fair housing and advertising laws. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm happy to be part of this board, and I truly look forward to serving the people of New York and all the licensees that contribute to our economy. So thank you.
Well, thank you and welcome. All right, moving on along with our agenda, you all received the November minutes. Does anyone have any corrections? All right, hearing none and seeing none, the minutes are approved as delivered to you. We move into department and subcommittee reports. The first one is the enforcement report with John Goldman.
Okay. Did we need to identify the staff here, Denise? No?
Yeah, why don't you? That'd be great.
Yeah. Do you want to also, Jody, do you want to introduce yourself first, and then Dave? And is there anyone else? Emily and Shannon could introduce themselves.
Sure. I'm Jody Jalala. I'm the director of the Division of Licensing Services. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome.
Hi, I'm Dave Mossberg. I'm the program attorney for the Division of Licensing.
Trisha O'Connor, board member. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Right, we're just gonna, talk just the
Allison.
departmental stuff.
We have Allison Lacey. Allison?
Hello, my name's Allison Lacey, and I'm the Senior Licensing Examination Specialist.
We have Emily Lupi.
Good afternoon. This is Emily Lupi. I work with the processing unit as an associate license examination specialist.
We have Ernest Delaney.
We have everybody in Albany identified?
Online we have, is Ernita and Ernest from our New York City office. And we have Paula O'Brien.
Hi,
Consumer.
yes, this is Paula. I'm from the director of the Division of Consumer Protection. We're a separate division in the Department of State, and our role is to serve as the consumer voice on the board.
Yes, and good afternoon. My name is Ernita Gant, and I'm Chief Investigator with Division of Licensing Services. Thank you.
Okay, and then if we had everyone on there, I'm Denise Tidings.
We have Shannon.
Sorry? Shannon. Oh, Shannon. Shannon, you can go? Go ahead, Shannon.
Hi, this is Shannon McGuire. I'm an associate licensed exam specialist. I'm working with the examination and education. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, then we'll go around the table here. I'll start. I'm Denise Tidings. I'm a senior licensed examination specialist for the division and also the board coordinator for licensing services.
My name is Marcella Rose, and I'm a senior license examination specialist with the Division of Licensing Services.
My name is John Goldman. I'm the supervisor of licensing services. I also serve as the deputy chief investigator under Chief Gant. Ernest Delaney, who didn't speak up, I believe he's on, is my counterpart downstate.
I am Craig Evans. I'm an investigator for the Department of State.
I am Jenna Bushwinger. I'm also an investigator for the Division of Licensing.
Laura Van Etten, investigator for Division of Licensing.
Well, I see Ed Clark has joined us as well. Hello, Ed. All right, I think everybody's introduced. John, go ahead. Accept your report, please.
Okay, the enforcement report that I prepared for you is kind of in two components. I'm gonna first kind of give you some statistics on complaints received since the last meeting, which I have as November 18th of 21. So this is November 19th, 21 through yesterday was when these numbers were prepared. The second component is I was asked to talk a little bit about the Newsday cases, which I think most of us are somewhat familiar with, and the progression of those cases through the department's enforcement and hearing process. As far as statistics are concerned, the time period is a little bit less than 3 months, November 19th to yesterday. We have opened 80 enforcement cases, 80. Those are comprised of both complaint-based investigations as well as state-initiated investigations. In that same time period, we've completed 111 investigations. 12 of those have been referred for administrative hearing for significant degrees of malpractice, or at least the investigation led us to believe there was significant malpractice warranting a hearing. Money issues, money being misappropriated, et cetera, fair housing violations, criminal charges, convictions, et cetera. We otherwise closed 99 cases, again, in that 3-month period. I'll just give you a little breakdown as to how those were closed. 24 of those 99 were closed as instruct, resolved, or warning. As I'm not certain whether the members know, but of course, assess our cases at completion of investigation and make a determination whether they warrant involvement of our legal staff in hearings. There are instances where we issue letters of reprimand and warning and educate the industry if we feel that's appropriate. 8 of those cases were closed with a hold, By that, what I mean is the license was expired. It's a relatively minor violation. We were not able to get any resolution from the licensee. They were expired. Contact was unable to be made, etc. But because their license is expired, we put a hold on their record, which amounts to any attempt they make to renew the license. It gives us the opportunity to complete that process and address that issue that we were not able to resolve with them because of a lack of communication. 5 of the cases were deemed to be civil in nature, that it was more appropriate for the matter to be resolved in the civil courts. 34 of the cases were marked. There's a couple of different categories that run similar in terms of what they mean. No violation, no merit, no jurisdiction, insufficient evidence. They kind of all speak for themselves. We felt the investigation did not warrant any action in essence, and so we closed those 34. We had 13 that were withdrawn, meaning the complainant, for any number of different reasons, did not want us to pursue the investigation after they filed it. We had 10 that were abandoned, meaning the complainant was not cooperative, did not supply the information we needed, was not communicating with us. So the case was closed as abandoned. 2 were marked as duplicate. Speaks for itself. Sometimes we have complainants that repeat themselves. They'll file the complaint more than once, and we identified 2 of those. And then we have 3 that were closed for marked other, which is a variety of different dispositions that are kind of odd or unusual. But that's what makes up the 99 that were closed. And those are the statistics for the time period since the last meeting. As far as the Newsday cases are concerned, we have had in excess of a dozen dispositions on the individuals named in the Newsday expose. We've had several license suspensions and several revocations. I was asked to mention that the first case that was came out where there was a disposition on the case in which the judge felt that the state did not meet their burden, we appealed and successfully appealed, and that case resulted in a suspension. It was somewhat widely circulated in the media that the first case that came out was dismissed, and we thought it was worth mentioning that we appealed that decision. We disagreed with that outcome, and were successful in our appeal and obtained a suspension of the licensee name. I will mention to everybody that you can obtain all kinds of different details on the Newsday cases, as well as any administrative hearing that we hold, by utilizing our search engine. Newsday in particular, simply type the word Newsday and you'll get hits on all of the cases I'm referencing. And I'll also encourage you to use that engine to search for anything you can think of, any sort of legal concept or matter. You can look up your competitors if you'd like, but it's a great tool. If you're not familiar with it, we can certainly talk about where to find that on our website. And that's the extent of the enforcement report.
You're on mute, Duncan.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Does anyone have any questions for John? All right, I'm not seeing any, so thank you. All right, our processing report with Emily Lupi, please.
Good afternoon. Included in the materials you were provided is a report of the number of current real estate licensees for January of 2021 and January of 2022. The report groups licensees into broker and branch office licenses and salesperson licenses. The totals are listed by county. The 2021 numbers include only licensees and did not include those licensees whose licenses may have expired but were covered by Executive Order 202.11, which allowed individuals licensed by the Department of State to extend the expiration of their license during the state of emergency. And that concludes the processing report.
Thank you, Emily. Does anyone have any questions for Emily? All right, seeing none, thank you, Emily. The educational report, please, by Marcella Rose.
Good afternoon. In consideration of the COVID-19 pandemic, a new regulation went into effect on December 7th, 2021, Section 159.1 allows schools approved by the department to offer qualifying and continuing education courses virtually via live remote programs, subject to reasonable restrictions. This is significant for schools approved to offer the real estate qualifying courses via live education, as it allows for the schools to now apply for live distance examination delivery method. This concludes my report. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I had a question. This is Trisha O'Connor. Good morning. In the past, in order to do distant learning, you had to be CDI, Arello approved. Is that still a requirement, or has that been eliminated as part of the approval to do distant learning?
You do need Norello approval for asynchronous courses which are computer-based, and they do not happen at the same time. The instructor is not live with the students, but for live distance education, that's synchronous education, where even though they're separated, there's live technology where they're using video and audio at the same time. So that does not, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Marcella? All right, thank you very much. The examination report, please, by Shannon McGuire.
Good afternoon. The following examination statistics cover the period of January through December 2021. The real estate salesperson exam was administered to 25,575 applicants with a pass rate of 52%. The real estate broker exam was administered to 1,984 applicants with a pass rate of 58%. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Does anyone have any questions for Shannon? We'll move on to new business. Legislative update with David Mossberg.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. In December, I'm sure most of the board is aware, the governor signed 9 new fair housing bills into law that had implemented various changes, including requirements for implicit bias training, increasing in fees, increasing fines, increasing or standardizing operating procedures for real estate brokers. So what I was going to explain today was the purpose of some of these bills, and also advise, to the extent that I can, about the effective dates of those bills. All but one of them were signed with an approval memo that contained a chapter amendment, which means that the bill that was signed by the governor is not the final bill, and that's not what the final law is going to be. So if at any point anyone has any questions, feel free to interrupt and let me know. So the first bill from the prior session was 538B. That required licensees to receive something that the legislature specified called implicit bias training. It was originally set to take effect on the 180th day after the bill was signed in December. That bill was approved with a chapter that would extend that effective date to 9 months as opposed to 180 days, and it also provided a definition of the term implicit bias to be used in the statute. The chapter for that bill is Chapter 7769. I just checked a little while ago. According to the Senate's website, it passed both houses, but has not yet been delivered to the governor. So therefore, neither the chapter nor the original are in effect. The second bill was in the last session, 945B. That one increased the statutory fine with a provision that 50% of those funds go to a special allocated fund to basically administer fair housing programs and to combat discrimination issues. The original law was supposed to take effect 60 days thereafter. The chapter was going to accelerate that by dropping the 60-day to 30-day. That chapter in the current session is 7728. Again, I just checked recently today. That bill has passed both houses, but has not yet been delivered to the governor, so therefore it hasn't been signed. The third bill from the last chapter was 2157A. That one changed the statutory definition of office managers to require ostensibly that the managers have 2 years of experience prior to becoming the designated office manager, for example, and also specifies clearly that the office manager, though really for all practical purposes is a salesperson, is not going to meet the salesperson's supervision requirements for issues involving that office. That bill was actually the only bill that didn't come with a chapter, so therefore it became effective immediately once it was signed by the governor in December. So anyone who's looking at, for example, the current statutory provision, which is New York Real Property Law, Section 440, paragraph 6, the definition of office manager from that bill is now in effect. It's been in effect since December 21st when the governor signed that bill. The next bill from the last session was 797A, which required additional education, different than implicit bias, which was the prior bill I just discussed. This one discusses or requires specific training on cultural competency. There was a chapter proposed to bring the effective date for that one from 9 months. The chapter also defines cultural competency to be used in the statute as understanding cultural norms, preferences, and challenges within the communities. As of today, that bill has passed both houses, but has not yet been delivered to the governor for signature. The chapter is current bill S770, but that's not yet in effect. The next bill, the next bill was 2132B from the last session, which required special fair housing training on the initial applications for salespeople and brokers. Basically increased the training for brokers to 152, increased the education for sales to 77 hours, with 6 hours in fair housing training. It also included faculty for the schools to create affirmations, basically confirming that the appropriate education was taught. So that bill was again subject to a chapter amendment. The chapter is somewhat technical in what it changed, but as of today, that chapter for that bill has passed both houses, hasn't yet been delivered to the governor, and it's currently under Bill 7730. Next bill was from the last session, 2133A. That one added basically the licensing fees to become a broker and salesperson, 30 for the broker, 10 for the salesperson. The interesting thing about that bill is that bill was originally supposed to go into effect on signing, which would have been back in December of 2021. The proposed chapter for that bill only changed the effective date to a date that is actually already passed. So the effective date for the chapter has passed. And according to the website, been passed both houses, but hasn't yet been delivered to the governor for signature yet. In order to sort of give meaning to either the original or the chapter, because the original bill is still technically law, we waited until the chapter was supposed to go into effect before actually increasing the statutory surcharge, the statutory increase. And so currently, I believe it's on our website, there's a notice that those fees have increased. And it's ostensibly really pursuant to the original bill, not pursuant to the chapter, because the chapter hasn't been delivered. The next bill is Senate Bill 538B. Again, required implicit bias training on part of broker and salespeople renewals. The original bill from the last session had a 180-day effective date. That was subject to a chapter amendment. Chapter amendment is under Senate Bill 7769. As of today, it's passed both houses, but hasn't yet been delivered to the governor. So it's not yet in effect. The next bill, which is related to, I guess, item C on the new business, relates to standard operating procedures for real estate brokers. That bill required, in part, that real estate brokers adopt certain standardized operating procedures and file them with the Department of State. Those specific procedural requirements was or possibly subject to amendment by regulation of the Department of State following a public hearing. That bill is subject to a chapter. The chapter is Senate Bill 7729. When I last checked earlier today, according to the Senate website, it indicates it only has passed the Senate. So obviously it hasn't been provided to the governor yet for signature. The key parts of that provision would be that, unlike the original bill that required the brokers to actually file those standard operating procedures with the Secretary of State's office, it implements it differently by requiring the brokers to basically affirm on renewals that they have these standard operating procedures and make those standard operating procedures publicly available to members of the public by posting the same on their website. So it will no longer be required that they have to be filed with the department. It still allows for amendment, but it would require, unlike some of the other regulatory provisions that we do at the department, that in order to do it, it requires a public hearing first to hear basically public comment before the proposal, and then it would go through the normal regulatory process under the State Administrative Procedure Act. The interesting thing with that bill to some degree is that it is currently law that, you know, the brokers are required to develop standardized procedures with respect to specific enumerated provisions that the original bill outlined, but it just, under the chapter, doesn't require it to be filed with the Department of State. So, and obviously because the chapter isn't signed and we don't have a mechanism for, you know, an enforcement at the department currently, as it stands, I can't imagine there would be a situation where there would be like an enforcement action taken by the department. However, I've spoken to some practitioners. You know, it's my understanding that some in the industry have already went through and created these standardized procedures because the existing law is still in effect, which is an interesting issue, I think, for, you know, practitioners in private practice, perhaps, for civil liability. But for departmental liability, obviously, they can't file it with the department because there's no filing system yet. And under the chapter, that's not designed to be sort of a final proposal. So, as I said, that one, it only passed the Senate, hasn't yet been delivered to the governor, so can't really speak to timing or effective dates or anything like that. So that is the update with respect to the legislative proposal. Just before, if anyone has questions, let me know.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave?
Hey, David, Neil Garfinkel. With respect to the cultural competency bill and the addition of a definition, is the Department of State going to provide any further guidance? My concern is that when we teach fair housing, we talk about the idea that everyone should be treated equally, regardless of any protected characteristic. And it seems to me that a class that focuses on cultural competency and potentially the differences amongst various groups is potentially problematic in that it goes against what we're trying to accomplish when we talk about fair housing. So I would hope that we'd have clarity as to what we're trying to accomplish with respect to that bill and that class.
Well, I would say certainly, where the legislature has provided a clear statutory definition, obviously we're bound by that clear statutory definition. I don't disagree that, the department has a role to have clarity where there's ambiguity. And I think we would be able to do that in the course curriculum and the approval and, all of the materials that are provided when providers are trying to teach these courses. But I think, at this point, considering all these chapters are pending, it would be a little bit too premature to speculate on how we might address that. But I definitely agree that I think that that's a valid point. Sure.
Any more questions for Dave? All right, thank you, Dave. We'll move on now to the license application fee increases.
Hi, good afternoon. So thank you, Dave, for that comprehensive review of all the legislation. As Dave mentioned, one of the pieces of legislation increased the licensing fees for brokers and salespersons. So that increase did go into effect January 21st. Most of you may already be aware that the new fee for salespersons went up by $10, so it's a $65 fee. The broker and branch office applications went from $155 to $185, so a $30 increase. And these increases apply to both initial and renewal applications. That's it.
Thank you, Jody. Any questions for Jody? Jody, I just have a quick question. I thought I heard Dave say that it was a surcharge. Is it a surcharge or is it a fee increase?
To us, it's a fee increase, but the additional cost is technically, I won't speak for Dave, but it's technically a surcharge. So that money, the additional money collected is to be deposited to the Anti-Discrimination and Housing Fund used for testing. Dave, correct me if that's not accurate.
No, yep, that's accurate. So it's basically there was the current fee the statute added. The additional money that was added is being, diverted by the department to the newly statutorily created fund. So I refer to it as the surcharge because it's allocated by statute for something else. Gotcha. It's like one increment.
Very good. That's very helpful. Thank you. Any questions for Jody? All right. Thank you, Jody. Next have Denise Tidings, the standard operating procedures. That's Jody again.
Yeah, so that's me again. So as Dave also mentioned, soon to be effective, we anticipate is that the brokers will have to establish standard operating procedures. And part of the legislation leaves the department the option to file additional regulations. So what we'd like to do with the form a subcommittee from the board members, form a subcommittee to discuss this legislation and make recommendations for any regulations that the department should consider that would be relevant. So we just wanted to ask if any of the board members were interested in serving on the committee. Either let us know, you can let us know now, or you can email Denise. And I think Neil, you already, volunteered. So anyone else that's interested, you don't have to, make a decision now, but if you can email Denise, that would be great. I don't know if you have any further questions.
Let's go ahead, Diane.
I was going to say, I'm happy to help on that committee if needed.
Okay. Okay. And we could perhaps get someone from DOS as well involved. But Denise after the meeting, if you can maybe send an email out to the board members, and then that way they can respond to you if they're interested. Provide your email address.
Will do.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions for Jody? All right, Denise, the next meeting date.
Okay, so I want to announce the next meeting date, which will be Thursday, July 21st at 1 p.m. If you find that you have any conflicts, please let us know sooner rather than later. As you know, we like to achieve a quorum. And if you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss at a future meeting, you can email that to me at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Is there any other new business to come forward?
Duncan, I apologize. I meant to ask Shannon earlier. I was just wondering if exams are back to full full attendance. In other words, I know for a while the Department of State was limited on the amount of examinations they could offer and the locations. Are we back to an opportunity for all those that want to take their tests to be able to take them?
So all locations are open and have been since August of 2020. We are in the process of exploring increasing our capacity to get us closer to what we were before. To accommodate the reduced capacities, we continue to offer additional exam dates at our exam locations.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Shannon, just based on the numbers, so it looks like there were a lot of exams offered. How does that compare with previous periods, if you know that? I'm just trying to get an idea of, is there anything else that we could do to give people who want to get tested an opportunity to do so?
So we are right now in New York City giving all of our exams 5 days a week. So we're using every opportunity that we have. We are looking to increase capacity, which will help the backlog in that area. We aren't seeing a backlog in the upstate regions. It's mostly at this point in the New York City and Long Island area due to the reduced capacity.
And I'll add, this is Jody, I'll add to that. So as Shannon mentioned, we are increasing capacity. We added exam dates. We used to have the real estate exam, 2 or 3 days a week in New York City, and now it's, we're offering exams 5 days a week in the New York City. So we were at less than half capacity during COVID, when we came back after COVID. We're increasing that. Should be the end of March, Shannon, we discussed, we may be able to increase the capacity. One of our and then we're going to go up we'll increase it a little bit and then increase it to 100, move towards increasing it to 100%. But one of our biggest struggles, particularly in New York, is the individuals that, book an exam and don't show up. That also interferes with our ability to reduce the wait time. So I don't know what more we can do on that side. But yeah, so increasing the capacities will definitely help.
I just want to add, if we need any help finding square footage and space in New York City, we're happy to reach out to our members and provide that.
So let us know if space is an issue. We're happy to support that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Is there any other new business to come before the board? All right, seeing none, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned, and we will now move into the public hearing session. I'll turn it over to you, Dave.
Pursuant to New York Real Property Law, Section 442I, Paragraph 6, in addition to the regularly scheduled meetings of the Real Estate Board, the Department Board is required to hold 3 separate public hearings each year, one in New York, one in Buffalo, and one in Albany. The purpose of these hearings is to solicit from members of the public suggestions, comments, and observations about real estate practices in New York State. It doesn't look like anybody's in our New York City office. We do have visitors in Albany, so I'll ask if there are any public members in our Albany office that wish to speak and provide public comments on observations about real estate. Please ask. Anyone there in Albany?
There's no one here in Albany, Dave, just our
no
staff.
Okay. Okay. Well, there being no public members in our Albany office, this public hearing pursuant to New York Real Property Law, Section 442I, Paragraph 6 is closed. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you to the DOS staff. You guys are doing a wonderful job as always. And this meeting is concluded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye-bye,
day.
everyone.